This is the strongest, the greatest U.S. women's Olympic team in figure skating since 2002. Welcome to another episode of Milan Magic. I'm Christine Brennan. I'm here with my partner in crime and sidekick, Brian Boitano.
I'm here too.
Yeah, you are indeed. Welcome back. And you know what? We're so pleased to be at USA Today Sports, and wherever you find your podcast. Thanks so much for listening in. And Brian, we're going to talk about one of our favorite subjects.
Absolutely. Figure skating. We just named our Olympic team just a while ago. We're in the Enterprise Center. They're loading out as we speak. What an exciting event.
What a week,
oh my
huh?
God. The men.
I think we're both a little bleary-eyed
I'm
at
a
this
little
point.
bleary-eyed.
Yeah, a lot
It's
of
been
working,
very
a lot of talking.
long week, but it's so exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
the men's event was incredible. I mean, Ilia Malinin. He's so dominant, but he had a skate that was fantastic, but conservative. And when I saw him, I actually introduced him to make the team. And I saw him and I said, congratulations, gave him a hug. And I said, that was a really smart program, because it was a smart program. And he said, smart program. I like how you said that. It's good. Smart. It was smart because he chose what he was going to do. I mean, this is a guy who has been known to do 7 quads in a program. He did 3 quads and he did them well, but he's struggled a little bit through the week. He had a practice that was kind of a head scratcher. Never seen him practice like that. Missing, a lot of things. In fact, not accomplishing a quad flip at all in the practice. And then he goes out in the program and lands a perfect one. But, we've never seen the Ilia Malinin like that. Mm-hmm. So when I say it's a smart program, it was it was enough to win. And he was conservative, but it was still done really well. And he's not going to do that in the Olympics. He's going to be doing a lot more.
Well, exactly. And, he won by over 50 points. Really, There was no competition here. And so he had in the bag, so to speak. When we say, quote unquote, air quotes, only 3 quads,
right.
That's an extraordinary number for most people. And if we go back 10 years, I mean, that'd be, amazing, or 15 years, whatever. But as you said, he did 7 quads as recently as just a month ago at the Grand Prix final, which of course was a record. No one has ever done that in the history of the sport. And but you're right, smart. He didn't want to get injured. The last thing you want to do when you come to the national championships and make the Olympic team is to somehow, injure yourself or have any trouble, as he's working through and breaking in new boots, which skates, which of course all the skaters do at some point during the season. He is on track. Everything exactly what he has hoped for, what his coaches, his mom and dad have hoped for, everything that as journalists, what we've been looking at, it's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is his 4th straight national title. He's got 2 world championships. He is the gold medal favorite. Yeah. So he comes out of St. Louis exactly where he wants to be.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's what, the juggling of the program is what makes him such a great competitor. The fact that he didn't even do a quad in his warm up and then he goes out and does 3 good quads. It's just like, that is miraculous to us anyway. All the skaters that I sit with in the audience, are just this is just amazing. They throw up their hands and they think, oh my God, this guy's just so amazing. So he's still amazing whether he does 3, but he can be phenomenal when he does 7. And so he's just that good champion that can juggle things. He makes smart decisions and he's taking care of his body.
And he always talks about, he did gymnastics as a little kid. Mm-hmm. He loves acrobatics. And he's the ultimate showman. Yeah. He wants to transcend this sport. He wants to move out into the culture and reach everybody who never even cared about skating. It's going to be an interesting goal and task for him. But he's got lofty dreams beyond the Olympics and that ability to be the showman. To do the backflip.
And those are the things that I worry about most for him, because I see his videos of practice and it's hard enough to do all the quads that he does, but he does the raspberry twist and he has a backflip and he does backflip with a twist and all these things. And he loves playing around. And sometimes the playing around can, lead to injury. And I just worry to see if he plays around too much. I don't want him to play around too much because I want to see him be healthy through the Olympics.
I mentioned he had the huge win. It was his to win. He won it, no problem. And it was more of a coronation, frankly, than a competition. Yeah. But then behind him, we've got a couple young men, and we want to, of course, talk about Maxim Naumov. Yeah. I think many people are realizing his story. Of course, we're approaching the 1-year anniversary of the terrible midair collision over Washington National Airport. His mom and dad, also his coaches, you knew them well, world champion Russian skaters from the past. His parents were on that plane. 28 members of the figure skating community passed away, and his mom and dad were, of course, two of those people. He was talking about quitting. This is one of the saddest stories, not just in sports, but throughout our country over the last year, clearly. And he was thinking of quitting, as you know, Brian. He didn't know if he could go on. He decided he was going to give it another try. Finished fourth at the last 3 national championships. He came in here. He finished third, which, of course, top 3 make it. We know that we'll talk in a minute about the committee and all the decisions that have to be made, which are part of the rules, that they've got to look at the resume and the body of work. But Max Naumov was named to the Olympic team today. Yeah. And what a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I had a chance to talk to him. He talked about just the incredible excitement and the surreal feeling when he actually got had the meeting with USFS officials to announce, tell him that he was going to make it. They told him several hours before it was announced to the public, and just how emotional and that it was what all his family wanted and all he had ever hoped for. And then we talked to him about his last opportunity to spend time with his mom, and the last meeting he had with his parents, his coaches, right after he had finished last year's nationals. Let's listen to that.
Right after the free program at last year's nationals, we had a little break in between the exhibition, and my mom was sick at the time, and she had to stay back in the hotel room. Usually, she didn't watch me skate really ever live. So we'd always kind of meet up afterwards, but she was sick this time, so we ended up going to her, and it was difficult looking back because we didn't know what to get ready for later, whether it was 4 continents or what, and we didn't want me to get sick, so I didn't get a chance to even hug her, But with the 45-minute conversation that we all had, it was a very productive, emotional, and just inspiring conversation. My dad said that we have to change our mindset. We have to get more consistent in the areas that we talked about, and just overall have a resilient attitude to the entire approach of the season, whether it was training, competing, off ice, on ice, all of it. And I carried that through all the way to this point.
So, wow.
Yeah,
powerful.
And, for me on a personal level, Max looks exactly like a combination of his mom and dad. And when I was his age, that's when his mom and dad and I met. So it's kind of surreal because he looks sometimes like his mom, sometimes like his dad, but at the same age that I met him. But Max has been always one of the most talented skaters, but not been able to put it together, exactly when he needed it. And so he has always had this really great talent and, work ethic. And he's always been one of the people that people are watching. But in this situation, and he has the heartstrings of everyone, including myself, that wanted him to make the Olympic team. But he was really one of 3 guys who had the chance to make one of the spots. And that was between Andrew Torgashev, Max Naumov, and Jason Brown. And people were really feeling that Jason Brown was Jason Brown will make the team. I mean, he was kind of a shoo-in not as much as Ilia, but kind of, right up there.
31 years old.
Yeah.
A beautiful artist on the ice. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great person. We know him. He's great quote, for journalists.
Yeah,
he's a
amazing.
role model to so many of the younger skaters, right?
Really great.
And they've relied on him for all these years.
Yeah. Relied on him for all these years. He's delivered when he needs to. He's had a long career of very successful skates, impressive skates that he's a skater, which means his quality, his edge quality, his movement, his spinning, everything. He doesn't do a quad, and that's been the hard thing in his career. I mean, if he had been able to do a quad, he would be at the top of the world championships. But still, even what he does, his quality of skating is so good that he still manages to be in the top 7. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So he's still a player, but this competition was not his. It was really hard to watch on a personal level. because to watch someone have a devastating performance like he did was really hard.
Yeah, he made mistakes from the get-go, and it was just a mistake-filled performance. Of course, it's obviously so disheartening for him, and it was not good.
It was almost like something was wrong, like he was struggling with something or hurt or I don't know what. But maybe we'll know someday. Maybe we won't.
But it's I think when you watch figure skating, I know everyone. You kind of you're holding your breath if you know the skater, if you don't, if you're sitting at home, if you're right by the ice, if you whatever, and it's tough. And to see something like that, and I've covered Jason for a long time.
Yeah.
Again, all the way back to Sochi Olympics in 2014, and such a good person. But it was a very, very poor performance. He ended up finishing 8th. Therefore, he wasn't even in the conversation. Although he might have been, as we'll talk in a second.
No.
But that top 3 of Malinin, and then of course it became Torgashev and Maxim Naumov, the sympathetic and sentimental choice for sure, and well deserved 3rd place. The reason Jason Brown was being discussed in the committee, the U.S. Figure Skating Committee, which we know they do, it's not cheating. They look at the resume, the body of the work. There's quite a bit that goes involved. It's not like swimming or track and field where it's just on the day and that's who you take for the Olympics. Figure skating's like a lot of sports that has committees and talks about things. Jason Brown was still being discussed, even in 8th place, because of his reliability at international competitions. The team competition, which of course the team...
They're still breaking down back here.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so the team competition, obviously, this is where there's both the short and the long program, men, women, pairs, and ice dance. And the key fact here is that at the Olympic Games, first thing out of the box is the team competition, 3 nights of team. And then 2 days after, 48 hours after the long program that the man will have to skate in the team competition. This is getting involved, but it is important. Then you'll have the men's short program, meaning that Ilia Malinin, if he's skating both of the team events and then has to come back 48 hours later with his individual event, that's a lot to put on anyone's plate.
It's too much responsibility. It's too much responsibility, and I hope that Ilia doesn't choose, or they don't try to put pressure on him to do it, because I really don't want him to have to do the short and the long. He is dependable. He'll do a great job. He will make the best of it. But at the same time, like what you said, they have to start trusting these younger skaters. They have made the Olympic team. And even though going back a little bit to Max Naumov, like he's had some, performances where he wasn't able to put it together, but the other night he did put it together. It's the best quad sow that he's landed, and this is a big pressure point. I mean, imagine getting onto that ice as Max Naumov and going like, I want to do this for my mom and dad. That pressure is more than any person trying to win a gold medal, anything. I mean, like, he felt so much pressure, but he was also driven. He opened up with like one of the best quad sows I've ever seen. He skated well. He had a little bit of, moment at the end where he slipped on something easy, but he really delivered. So I'm saying that they need to start putting more responsibility. These guys are playing in the big games now. They're in the big ballpark, and you have to start relying on them. So give them more responsibility. So if you would have him, one of Andrew Torgashev or Max Naumov do the short program and have Ilya, that would be a better decision for me.
And this, of course, is the team competition.
Yeah,
and course. I'll be the journalist here. And then, they have never done it before on that, Worlds or the international arena, and this is the biggest of all. So that's the issue here, right?
Yeah,
and I know we'll spend more time talking about it when we get to Milan. But the question is, Ilya is going to deliver a good short and good long, and could he even water down the long program in the team competition as he did here with like 3 quads?
Absolutely,
which would be good enough probably for the U.S. to win the gold, and then have those 48 hours. But that's the reason that they were having at least a bit of a conversation about Jason Brown after his dreadful performance. And again, we love Jason Brown, but terrible performance. Because did they want to think about a trusted veteran, even though clearly Jason was not that here as well. So, the team competition, and it will be, fascinating to see how they make those decisions.
And you know what? You brought up a good point. Like, Andrew Torgashev, who, I am a Torgashev fan. I have liked him for the last year. He had a great national championships, made the world team, didn't skate well in worlds, has not had the greatest season, not his greatest short program here, but he delivered in a big time. He won the night in the long. I mean, not that he's better than everyone else, but for what we can expect from Andrew Torgashev, he skated his brains out, and everybody noticed it. And struggling as he has done in the practices and in the season on the biggest night so far of his year, and the pressure of getting one of those spots that is available on the Olympic team, and to come out and skate clean as he did with 2 quads, it was an amazing feat. So he deserves a little bit more responsibility, and maybe have him do the short program.
And we will see how
Yeah,
they play.
absolutely.
But the decisions will be interesting, and they will be major news because it will be happening, of course, right on that Olympic stage. The pairs competition, I think the big thing is, of course, the winners can't go because of citizenship issues, no passport. I mean, these are issues that pop up in international sports, and the U.S. Figure Skating Federation, of course, was dealing with that, but it did not come to pass, and that's unfortunate. And then ice dance, chalk and baits.
I mean, world champions defending, their world title in the Olympics. We've never been in the situation that we have 3 world champions. I mean, this is unusual. Women's, men, dance. We have never in the history of our sport had 3 world champions going into an Olympic competition. They are the favorite, but still, they're not a shoo-in. But I think that we can expect a great performance from them, and I think that everybody wants them to win.
And they're still breaking down the arena here, but now, obviously.
A perfect transition to women.
Right, without a doubt. And hey, listen, it's,
because they attack that ice like a jackhammer.
That's good. And we didn't even plan that. No.
There it is. They're back on the ice again.
Right, exactly. No, the women are, I wrote this in USA Today, and I don't think this is a novel thought. I'm sure others agree with it as well. But this is the strongest, the greatest U.S. women's Olympic team in figure skating since 2002, which, of course, was Sarah Hughes winning the gold, Michelle Kwan finishing 3rd, and Sasha Cohen finishing 4th.
Right.
In 98, you had Michelle and Tara. Obviously, Tara wins, and then Michelle 2nd. So those 2 last Olympics, 98 and 2002, we're talking, Brian, that's 24 years.
Yeah.
That is almost a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
And that's how strong I think this team is. Amber Glenn winning her 3rd straight national title, first person to do that since Michelle Kwan, your dear friend, and obviously someone I covered forever. And then Alyssa Liu, who's a 2-time national champ, coming in 2nd, and Isabeau Levito, who has 1 national title already, coming in 3rd. I mean, what do you? This is as good as it gets.
Amber Glenn, she's shown some major competitive chops here. Her triple axel is better than any triple axel ever done by a woman. And she's had some performance anxiety in the past, and this was a huge stress situation for her to overcome, to beat Alyssa Liu, who absolutely feels no pressure, and she goes out there like a kid with the joy of life. But for Amber to go out there, because she's been serious about her skating, she obviously does get nervous, and it's gotten in her way before, to go out there and defend, and bring back the title, or actually defended her title. Is substantial, and it's got to layer on another skin of confidence going into the Olympics. But that being said, I mean, Alyssa Liu, right? Oh. She's amazing. She doesn't feel pressure. She's unusual. She approaches the competition with this joie de vivre. Like she's like performing in her backyard on a frozen pool. You know what I mean? Skating to her favorite music. She is first of all, she's such a great example for little girls, because she won the national title when she was the youngest national champion, 13 and 14. And then she skated a little bit and then retired. She grew, she got a woman's body, she came back, and now she's killing it with that woman's body. And nobody that has ever gone through that growing phase has ever been as successful at doing what she's doing as Alyssa Liu has. And she is such an inspiration to girls and women. Well,
and also I have to say this, we have covered the cutthroat side, or I've covered the cutthroat side of many sports, including figure skating. Very competitive. Not everyone loves each other.
Absolutely.
We know that. I'm sure it's the men's as well as the women's. We certainly obviously saw the worst of it with the 1994 Tanya Nancy scandal, for sure. But but we often see it where not when a team is a team, but they're really not a team, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've got three individuals; it's an individual sport. I have to say, Brian, that with Glenn and with Alyssa Liu, Amber Glenn, Alyssa Liu, Isabeau Levito, they finish each other's sentences. They laugh at each other's jokes. They cheer for each other. I had this incredible moment that I'm sitting in press row, I was literally one step and I'm on the ice, which would not have been a good thing for anyone. But I've never been closer to the ice. And so thank you, U.S. Figure Skating, for the great press row. And Alyssa's finished skating her long program. There's only one skater left. There's only one skater who can beat her. It's Amber Glenn. And so instead of going backstage, which skaters often do, right? Put the headphones on or just, not want to hear the scores, not want to see what's happening. Alyssa parks herself right in front of us, right in front of our press table. And she is cheering, moving around to make sure she can see around the people right by the boards and cheering for Amber Glenn, the woman who ends up beating her. I mean, I've done this, as you know, for over 40 years. That's a rare sentence to be able to say.
Really unusual.
And we've talked to Alyssa Liu about this as well. And she goes, I want everyone to do well. This is what I love. I asked Amber Glenn about it, and she actually talked about how it is so different because she remembers the 6-0 system. She remembers the more cutthroat nature of it. Again, nothing wrong with that necessarily. You're competitive, right?
I heard from Amber Glenn, one of the people close to her, and said Amber Glenn, when she was younger, she realized that there were people competitive with her, and she felt stabbed in the back at sometimes, and she vowed to not be that way when she was older, and that she wanted to encourage the younger generation to not be that way. But as well as I do, it requires two people to create camaraderie, and because Alyssa is that has that joie de vivre, and she's really skating for herself, she's not looking at medals, she's not looking at winning national champions, it doesn't matter to her. She just wants to skate, have fun. She wants to do her best. She's competitive with herself because I skate with her like twice a week. And she's competitive with herself, but she's not wanting something for herself and hoping that someone else doesn't achieve that.
Right. But I've asked them also, what does this mean now as they move to Milan?
Yeah. Because
you have three individual athletes who all want to do very well. And I think it's going to help them cut through some of the nonsense, the pressure. Of course, they're going to have plenty of pressure. It's the Olympic stage. It doesn't get bigger than this. Alyssa Liu was there 4 years ago. The other two have never been before. But I do think this friendship, you see Amber Glenn, like when they named the team or when they finished in the long program on Friday night, and it's Amber Glenn who's kind of got both of them.
Yeah,
she's taller, right?
She invited him up. And,
and I mean, she's 26. Alyssa Liu's 20.
Yeah.
Isabeau Levito, of course, third place, looks like the ballerina on the music box or on the what am I thinking of?
The music box.
Yeah, the
inside.
music box. Yes, but no, the jewelry box. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, she looks like I messed up my own line. She looks like the ballerina on the jewelry box. Just beautiful, obviously out on the ice, as the other two are as well, of course. But that it's like Amber Glenn, she's got this, she's going to be like
she's the mama hen,
right?
Mama hen, yeah.
But that, I mean, don't you think? Let me ask you, having competed at 3 Olympic Games. Is that a positive that they've got each other in this way?
Absolutely, 100%. Not only is it a positive for them, it's they're positive role models for younger people, and to show that just because you guys are out for the same goals, it doesn't mean you can't cheer for each other. Because, ultimately as a skater, as people going on, it really boils down to I know you guys always laugh at us for journalists, like they like the stat answer of I'm out there skating for myself and I just want to do my best.
Yeah,
focused. Exactly. Right? But it honestly is true. So skaters say that because it's, if you skate your best, you're probably going to place well. So that's why skaters say that. So if Amber skates well, she's going to place well. If Alyssa skates well, she's going to place well. Same with Isabeau. So they just focus on the job at hand, doing their best. And if this is the difference. And if the other one skates better, they're okay with it. And that's okay.
But that's that's a little bit of the difference.
It is, absolutely.
Right. They're not rooting to say
against.
Right.
They're not rooting against the other person.
Right. And that's why I find this absolutely remarkable. I think this is going to catch on. We're talking about it now. I don't think anyone else is. I think this is going to catch on as people start to be aware of what these three women are doing. How fun they are, as I said. They're giggling, they're laughing, they look at each other, they finish each other, they answer each other's questions. Absolutely.
It's refreshing.
And in our world today, with everyone at each other's throats, you look at these three women. I do think it's going to be even a bigger deal than as we're discussing it here. Cultural even. People are going to really relate to it. Now, the next thought on them is as we kind of pivot to at least thinking for a moment or two here about Milan and the women's competition. Okay, I mentioned 98 and 2002. Those were both 2 medals out of the 3 for U.S. women. That's going to be hard here. I mean, I know that skating was absolutely tremendous, both the short program and long program. It was some of the best we have ever seen. And not just those 3, but 5 deep, women who could have easily filled another Olympic team, right? But now, and we don't need to go into all the details, but here come the Japanese. There's going to be a Russian, Petrosian. So just kind of early on thoughts on where this great team, I mean, 1 medal would be fantastic.
Well, the curveball is going to be Petrosian that comes in, the Russian skater, who hasn't really been in competitions with them in the last few years. So she's someone who does quads, and our girls don't do quads. So is that going to be a game changer? I'm not really sure, because the quality of our girls skating, the in-between, what we call the component scores, the artistic scores, everything that they do other than jumping is really strong, really strong. And in my opinion, it's much stronger than what the Russian skater can deliver. I mean, we always also have Kaori Sakamoto, who is a past world champion who Alyssa defeated last year. And Alyssa actually went over to her and apologized for beating her last year. She said, I'm so sorry for beating you. You're my idol. I mean, this is the type of skater she is. But still, Kaori is a tough, seasoned, professional, go-getter, and she is going to bring it on. So it's not going to be an easy feat for our ladies to get medals. So they have to skate their best.
Well, and that's the reality check, right? That as great as everyone feels about that team, and as I've said, I think it's what's the best women's team we've seen since 2002. That doesn't mean they're winning the gold medal, or the silver. I mean, but that medal drought, which was, as we know, and we've talked about, I'm sure people will talk about it again, from 2006, Sasha Cohen, the last U.S. woman to win an Olympic medal, a silver medal in Turin in 2006. Well, be just 100 miles away or so in Milan. That's the drought. And and Amber Glenn said, when I asked about it, she said, I think we're going to break the drought.
I mean, we've talked a lot about Alyssa Liu. One of the things that was astounding is in Alyssa Liu fashion, she decided to do a new long program in the national championships here. And it's just so unusual. People are astounded that she's only done it one other time earlier in the season. She brought back that long program to Lady Gaga. And for a skater to change their program a month before the Olympics is unheard of, just unheard of. She's officially decided to go back to the original long program from last year, which I think is a really good decision. But you know what? It was so unusual. But when we talked to our favorite friend, legend Carol Heiss from 1960 Olympic champion, she actually suggested that she had some similarities.
We have the great Carol Heiss Jenkins, 1960 Olympic gold medalist, 1956 silver medalist, who is just an absolute rock star, a fellow Ohio Women's Hall of Fame member, you and I, Northern Ohio, Cleveland and Toledo, and just one of the great coaches, Olympic coach.
Absolutely.
Every award possible, she's done it all, and then some. Carol Heiss Jenkins, welcome.
Oh my, are you talking about me?
Oh my God.
Who are you talking about? Thank you.
Yeah, we're talking about you, and also one of the great prognosticators of figure skating.
How dare you?
Yeah. do you even know what that means? I mean, if there were gambling, if there were gambling and betting and figure skating, I mean, I guess in our world today there probably is. We wouldn't be doing it. But Carol Heiss Jenkins has always been the right one to figure out who's going to win the gold, who's going to win the silver.
Oh,
right?
Wow. Yeah.
How do you do that?
I don't know. It's just it's a gut feeling.
As we're talking here at Nationals, the women's final, of course, the long program, wonderful moment when they recognized you and Tenley Albright, the 1956 gold medalist, to your silver, and as in the stands, and you were on the big screen. And then, of course, you had the chance to watch all of those incredible performances. What is Carol Heiss Jenkins' take on what you saw in the women's long program?
It was awesome. And I think for Amber Glenn to win, she skated very well, the best I've ever seen her skate. But also, everybody else skated perfectly. So to win when your competition skates so well, I mean, she has to feel so good today. I mean, she earned the championship, but it wasn't by default. Nobody made even a little mistake. They were all wonderful last night. It was exciting. Tenley and I stood there, we thought, oh, you know how skating has changed, because it's 70 years for her, it's 66 years for me since the gold medal. And I said, we just shook our heads. We were flabbergasted, honestly.
On a coaching level, I want to know specifically a question about Alyssa Liu made a long program change. So she'd only performed that long program last night only once before she did it last night in a competition. So how unusual is that for someone to change their long program a month before the Olympics?
I have a funny story to tell you. I could relate to that. Everybody was talking about it. Tenley said, oh, she changed her program, da, da, da. And everybody was skating, so I didn't have a chance to say anything. But in 1957, after the 56 Olympics, my mother died 9 months later. She was 41, I was 16. And Mr. Brunet, my coach, made this wonderful program for me. We put it all together. And in those days, the national championship was after Worlds. And so we're getting ready for Worlds in Colorado Springs. And, after the first of the year, New Year's came around, and I just walked in one day and I just said, I hate my program. I hate my music. I want to change it. And I'm sure Mr. Brunet inside, as a coach, you go, really? And he did. And I think it was just all of a sudden, my mother's death and how things had changed in our family and the whole thing. And it was like my way of saying, all right, I've got to wipe everything clean. I'm getting rid of everything. Well, everything to me at that time, I was 17, was my skating, the program, the music, So we, in those days, you could go ahead and rent the ice for $5. You could be on for 3 hours. And, and they didn't have a Zamboni. So it was, the fire hose and the squeegee and the scraper. And so George, who was the guy that made the rink, the ice for us, so at 11:30 at night, he'd go and make the ice for me, and $5 to Icelands, and we made a new program, got new music, a new program. We worked till 3:30 in the morning, finished the program, and a couple of days later, I said, I love it. I just absolutely love this program. And it was a month before Worlds.
Wow.
So I think it depends on the individual. Normally you wouldn't do that. As a coach, if somebody came up to me, but if they really, like I said to Pierre, I really, really hate this program and I don't like the music, then okay, you've got to change it because you don't feel comfortable competing.
What do you think that you would have done if the judges, when they saw the new program, said, I really liked the other program better?
Once it was over?
Yeah.
And you forget, in my day, we didn't have monitors and the judges didn't come around.
Yeah.
They didn't see the programs. We'd have somebody that look at it. There was a judge in the Skating Club of New York. But fortunately, she really didn't say anything. I think she understood the situation for me. And I think it was a little bit different because my mother's death, I think they thought, well, this is a way of clearing the air, et cetera. But I think if I had somebody come up and really be passionate about not liking that program, and if a judge came up and said, they didn't like it, we've got people it was funny last night, some people said, oh, I love the new program. And then there were other people say, no, I don't like the new program. So, I mean, I think you have to go with what you feel like. We were talking about the gut feeling inside. I think the skater has to go for that.
Yeah.
Now, as I talked to Christine before, I said, you have to be careful that you don't become your own coach. that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You need somebody to look at you with a different viewpoint and tell you what they like and what they don't like, because you really can't see yourself.
You know, Carol, as we were touting you as the ultimate in guessing and predicting, so these three great women that you watched last night, we're, you know, obviously the official announcement as we speak is going to be a day away, but we know it's going to be Amber Glenn and
Yes.
Alyssa Liu and Isabeau Levito. What do you see for them as they go on and compete in Milan, where it's not just, of course, the U.S. women anymore,
Right.
Japanese women, a Russian will be back. What do you see the prospects going into Milan?
I think we have a very, very good team. You know, I think it's going to be a fight. It always is on the top level, right? I mean, you know, it's never easy. Maybe it's easy for somebody like Ilia Malinin, but I think he's from another planet. I mean, he does things that nobody does. It's always a fight, and you have to do your job. And the Olympics, and I'm sure you understand this, Olympics is like no other competition. And I don't know if it's because it's every 4 years or the public gets so involved in the Olympics, but it's special. And somehow you have to divorce yourself from that feeling. But we all know there is such a thing as Olympic nerves. No ands, buts, ors
And you
about
can't
it.
explain it unless you've been through it.
People want to know, well, what did you feel? What is it? Why is it? You know, it's absolutely. You go, it just is. It just is. We're all very nervous. I think it's just, well, for me, it was going to be the end of my career. My family my dad couldn't afford to keep me in skating anymore. And we didn't have help. You know, the national champion got their way paid to Worlds, but all the years I was second, my family had to pay their own way to Worlds. You know, so it got very expensive, and life has to go on. Now, if I had won in '56, it probably wouldn't have been good because I would have quit and I was only 16.
Right.
My dad would have said, all right, this is it. And I really didn't want to. So it all worked out very well. I have to thank Telly.
Well, and then you would have started your movie star career earlier. And when we come back with Carol Heiss, and when you come back with us, like, to talk, can we talk about your movie career? Because Snow White and the Three Stooges was one of my favorite movies.
Absolutely. And again, you know, as we're talking about these great, you know, when you win the Olympic gold medal in women's figure skating as an American, you are Miss America on ice. I mean, your name is just, you are a rock star the way no other Olympic gold medal. I mean, yours was huge as well. But in general, it's the women
Yes.
and the way the nation then responds.
And, you know, my Olympics was the first Olympics, that Winter Olympics, that was televised. You know, my husband has nothing of his, you know.
Your husband, the 56
Olympic
men's gold
champion.
medalist.
There's nothing there. But in '60, CBS, I think, bought it for $500,000, and they were going to put it on 10, 15 minutes at night at the CBS News. And people called after the first 2 days. They wanted to see more. So it was very fortunate for me that it was in Squaw Valley, it was live TV, and you had... Actually, it was Walter Cronkite who did the interviews with Bud Palmer. And I remember Walter Cronkite when I got off from skating, you know, and wanted an interview. And the first question he said is, "Don't you get cold out there with those short skirts?" You know, they didn't know much about skating. But that was an advantage for me, being an American, winning the gold medal, and it was in Squaw Valley, and it was live television.
Which is incredible, your whole career. I do have my favorite Carol Heiss story I have to tell as we say goodbye to you, Carol. And it is 1995, the U.S. Nationals. Everyone's in the same hotel. All the skaters, the coaches, you know, whatever. Someone pulls the fire alarm at 3 a.m. And so everyone comes running out, as you can, you know, visualize it, right? Hundreds of people in their pajamas and their hair sideways, and they have one shoe on and one shoe off and whatever. So everyone's rushing out of the hotel. And a couple moments later, I'm standing there, and here comes Carol Heiss Jenkins, totally made up, hair pulled back, wearing her mink.
Now, but I have to tell you that I did have pajamas under my mink coat.
And it took you only about 2 minutes to do that, so you didn't risk life and limb in
No,
that sense.
I didn't risk that.
But,
you know.
but as you've told Christy Yamaguchi and others, when you are the Olympic gold medalist, there is some way that you should be portraying yourself and appearing, correct?
Absolutely. And, I learned that early because Mr. Brunet, my coach, and his wife were twice Olympic pair champions for France and won world championships. So even when I won national novice, he said, you now have to be like a champion. You don't want to be pompous. You don't want to be conceited, but you have to play the part. And so you always have to have your laces clean, your boots nice and white, and you always have to look the part, So you're ingrained in that at the age of 11, because he's the only coach I ever had. And, if we had dirty skates and came in for a practice, he wouldn't give you a lesson. You have white skates, white laces. You had to, his motto was, if you dress sloppy, what happens with this mind? It gets all messed up. In his French accent.
That's good.
Advice that you took even into the fire alarm.
Oh, I did the fire. Well,
Exactly.
I adored Mr. Brunet.
Well, as I said, it's my favorite Carol Heiss Jenkins moment. And because covering your skaters as, of course, a coach, it didn't, obviously we were a little, this guy wasn't around yet, and I was tiny when you won the gold, but to getting to know you, Carol, it's just been fantastic.
Oh,
you are,
thank you.
What fun. And again.
Well, we've had a lot of fun together.
We have, and so I know this is a podcast and people are watching or listening. Off camera or off mic, we're going to get the exact order of finish in the women's competition at the Olympics from you, and we're going to see.
And then we'll
come on in Milan and say if Carol Heiss Jenkins was right or not. In the meantime, thank you so much for your time.
Oh man, that Carol Heiss, she is literally one of my favorite people ever.
Well, you need to listen to Carol Heiss. In 1998, the Nagano Olympic Games, when everyone thought Michelle Kwan was going to beat Tara Lipinski, there was one person saying Lipinski was going to beat Kwan. It was Carol Heiss Jenkins.
I believe it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, on that note, another wonderful episode of Milan Magic. Thanks so much for listening and watching at wherever you get your podcasts, USA Today, USA Today Sports. It is great to be with you, Brian.
You too.
And
be talking to more legends next week.
Exactly. For Brian Boitano and Christine Brennan, thanks so much for listening. And we'll be seeing you and talking to you next week.